Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Empress Addie podcast. Today is really exciting because after a whole month hiatus, it's summertime, people are out and about, traveling, doing all types of things. My first guest coming back is Dr. Charlene Desir. For those who don't know, Dr. Charlene is a research professor at Nova Southeastern University. She's a Harvard trained scholar whose work focuses on Haitian healing, traditions, migration, psychosocial resilience. She founded the Empowerment Network Global, and so it usually goes by 10 Global, and the Haitian Mental Health Think Tank. Her work speaks to the heart of our community, offering education, advocacy, and deep healing. Beyond that, Dr. Charlene is more than just Dr. Charlene Desir. She is actually initiated Mombo Dr. Charlene Desir. She is a phenomenal mother, a deeply loyal friend and mentor. She is as real as they come. I just love this individual, this soul, this gift to us in this time. And I just wanted to present you, and I'm really excited for our conversation today, Shar.
Thank you for inviting me. I think you are also fabulous. We've known each other for a couple of decades now. So I'm very glad to be with you and speak with you.
Thank you. I want the people to really get to know who you are and how you came about 10 Global, the think tank, and all the things that you do. But first, let's start with your journey into becoming a Mombo, which began long before you actually became initiated. It was just making it official.
I think I had this grandmother that was very gifted and in tune with the ancestors. As I grew older, I realized I was her apprentice. She was grooming me to understand the magical world in a Haitian context. I really think those who choose spiritual paths, there's two pathways. There's those that it's in your bloodline, it's in your family, and it's a natural inheritance.
Mhm.
And other people, are searching to reconnect a line that was broken, and they go through that path. So as I was younger, I was always like this old spirit.
Mhm.
And so I followed my grandmother everywhere. I think she passed when I was a senior in high school. And then I went to college a few months later. And then I think, like, in certain family tradition, when one crosses, another one is given the torch. So, while I was pursuing all of this education, I have a couple of degrees, but my terminal degree was a doctorate from Harvard. It's at Harvard that I was finding books and texts and interviews all on Haitian Vodou. My grandmother would probably call her way of being an ancestral path. I'm like, wow, they're studying us, but we're not studying ourselves. I began to study for 18 years myself, my family line, how I process. And as a graduate student and a school psychologist, I began to develop connections with the Haitian cosmic energies, the Loas, and they guided my path. And it was very obvious and deliberate. So for my dissertation, I worked with Haitian children, followed them over several years and documented their racial, social, and spiritual adjustments. In doing that, they taught me as well. They were coming with remembrances and ways of cognitively understanding the world through a Haitian Vodou lens. They were demonstrating this in school and it was rejected.
Mhm.
I remember one young man, he had to write an essay about Thanksgiving. And he said, Thanksgiving is like Gede. It's a celebration of ancestors and we eat chaka. And it was perfect English syntax. And the teacher came by, I was like, you can't write that. So then he wrote, oh, I thank my father for bringing me Thanksgiving is giving. And like the whole grammar context didn't make sense. So
Right.
that was light for me that the spiritual path, the Vodou path, indigenous ways of understanding is not only about ritual or ceremony. It's about epistemology, how you understand the world, how you communicate.
That's right.
And that was my commitment. For the last 20 odd years, I've been creating these types of programs. And in my 18th year of study, I decided to initiate. I went to Haiti. I found this amazing spiritual mother who also studied psychology. It was very important for her to support those in the diaspora
Mhm.
to understand their identity, their
Yeah.
spiritual identity. So after 18 years of study, I initiated.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Your work has been an epistemological journey, or really finding credit in that. For so long, it's been devalued somehow and even aligned with being uncivilized. Whereas Vodou in itself is its own epistemology. And it's the way we understand, it's the way we learn. For those who don't know, epistemology is how do we know what we know? Thank you so much for describing what a mobile is, because I was going to ask you to explain what a mobile is, and I think you did a great job in explaining that.
I mean, I think Amumbu is a teacher, a healer. And, as we are in the diaspora, some of us in Haiti, there's different pathways. I mean, for some traditionalists, in Haiti's like, well, Amumbu can do everything. Like she does bath, healing, ceremony. I think as we expanded, because I think every religion, every system emerges too over time. And I think that there's people that have a certain don, a certain teaching, a certain process that
Yeah.
can share. You have to be a community person. You have to love your community and sacrifice sometimes for an understanding of a greater community. Some of us in the diaspora may choose a route. For me, my service is working with women and children. My ceremony happens when I'm teaching in front of the classroom and create a space of serenity, a space of spirit in the room. It's an invitation,
Yeah.
and there are, of course, many priests and priestesses that are similar, and so I mean, it really is a foundational understanding of love and responsibility for your community.
Mhm.
Some of us take that initiation route. Some of us create our own traditional ceremonies, and some of us walk ceremonial every day.
Mhm. And so, thank you. Now, there are different types of mumble, am I correct?
Well, I mean, I not versed in all the different types, but I know that there's different levels and different entry points. I mean, there's mumbles that it's passed down through their family. I was talking to my father years ago, and he said when he was young, they didn't even call it voodoo. It was just that there were people in the community that had certain gifts.
Yeah.
They would come together and they would share their gifts with the community.
Yeah.
And then there's the ceremonial space where we believe in cosmic energies and energies ought to be honored. So we have celebrations for them. We have rituals for them. It's like the leaf, the rimaskiti, the drinking teas and being in harmony with yourself.
With
So
nature.
yes, I think that was the first tradition, right? Folks were initiated through their family line.
Yeah.
They were recognized by elders in their community having a particular gift. They were trained. And it wasn't until really the 1900s where people started doing really serious formal initiations. I don't know if that was in resistance to occupations and different things like that, where you could be initiated outside of your family, outside of your community. And folks started having those initiation processes where they went to someone outside of their family, particularly those in the diaspora who are detached from their own. They have a calling, they feel a calling to do that, and they go through a formal process. It could take a year. I initiated in Haiti. It took a month just for the ritualistic aspect, but we studied for almost a year. So, there's different routes. And then there's those who just, you know, are just born with a gift. They may not have gone through a family process, a formal initiation process, but they were born with an anointing and they walk in that. and people see them as sacred mothers. In the Christian church, they're a mother, but we have our own language in terms of how we define these things.
And, even I have that deep-seated Christian walk, Christian background, right? And seeing the mothers of the church, the ones who they would call whatever the ailment, right? You had the ones they called when certain different problems, and you had the ones who had dreams and would come. You had the ones who would prophesy, and they're always around us, and the spirits are always there, and we can attribute it to spiritual gifts, which that's what they are. But as I got older and studied more, I saw the connection immediately. So that is amazing. And not to negate that initiation itself is very professional. It is a curated process that everyone cannot really go through. They could possibly go through this and not even cross over into that if they're not selected, if they're not chosen, right? So it's always fascinated me. We've been taught one way, and then we had to unlearn and relearn who we are, what we are, and the gifts that are available to us, the things that we can do for ourselves, for our community. And I think there's this global consciousness happening right now, Charlene. So, but I'm going to pivot. Did you want to add anything to the space of your journey with becoming a mobile, your journey connecting that with your doctoral walk, coming to who you are today and continue to grow?
I think that life is an initiation. At that part of my life, the spirit found me because you have to study yourself and be in alignment and an openness because my family particularly wasn't supportive. And partially like, this is an Americanized girl. What is she talking about? So, I think in getting a doctorate is a initiation, a call into witness your own knowing. Like, what do you know and what can you contribute? And for me, I had a grandmother who didn't read and write, a mom who didn't finish high school, having this understanding that I was called to a task and had a responsibility. I think that's one of the issues when you talk about choosing a positionality in your spirituality. I was having writer's block, and then I would just get downloads and writing my papers. I won the dissertation prize, and 3 of my chapters began with using the laws as theories. I was very unapologetic throughout my professional career that I was going to represent my ancestors in my academic work. I still do to this day.
Can I tell you something? When we met some years ago, you gave me that permission to write unapologetically. And I was fascinated by how unafraid you were. I feel like I lived my whole life so afraid. We're so afraid to be who we want to be or be who we're called to be. And even in my writing, I'd go back to old writings and say, oh my God, this sounds so coonerish because I am really trying to mask. And you could see the mask even in my writing. And I'm like, what am I doing? Who am I trying to appease here? And so I've begun writing very unapologetically. And I thank you for that because you have never shied away from what the spirits are telling you, the downloads you're getting, and what needs to be said and done, and the work that needs to go on right now.
Absolutely. We have to give them voice.
So I definitely want to highlight some of that voice that is translated in the work you've done with the children. I want to switch over to what 10 Global is doing. Tell us about 10 Global and how that came about.
You may have to edit this. I have my dog in the background making noise, so I don't know if I should move him.
You're fine
Um,
because I don't hear him.
okay, great, great, great. Well, I was working in Florida as a professor and the earthquake hit.
Mhm.
That was a pivot year where I began the nonprofit, the Empowerment Network Global. Part of that was to support children and because they were affected in ways that we ignored. There was all these images happening on the news, and we tend to forget the sensitivity of young people. That particular year, I partnered with a friend of mine, Dr. Pamela Hall, and our first project was the summer program for young people. We had young people that actually came that were in Haiti and were displaced here, and we had volunteers. One particular volunteer, Dr. Mercedes, did group therapy with them,
Mhm.
trauma therapy. And then we forgot that these young people were seeing these images all the time.
Mhm.
And so they brought that into the space with us. One of the beautiful things is because of my background, I could see as a school psychologist, students who were having social issues or psychological issues or academic issues. And then there was this other piece, students who were having spiritual issues and interactions during this time as well. So, and the first year was focused on that healing. So that first year that we did the program was 2010. It was actually the first year, and that was the first project. And that would last for 7 years. So we had 100 Haitian kids in Miami every summer for 7 years. And so it grew into an identity development. The model of the program was based on Vodou principles and looking at a personal, interpersonal, and communal understanding of self. Had an amazing staff. Adrian Zantika came, supported every year, donated books, and it was an offering. It took me 7 years to finish my doctorate, giving to the energies of Haiti and that are here in the United States. And we also, at the same year, went to Haiti. So we also would do, after the 7 weeks, we would go and do 2.5 weeks in Haiti. I worked in a community in Haiti for 7 years, and I still do. I'm working in different communities, and we had volunteers come, artists would come, our therapists would come, because what was happening in Haiti, most of the kids who passed was in a school building. So in my community, we lost several kids who had made it to college when their building fell down. And then folks were displaced. So they were going to the countryside from the
Right.
city. And we're still seeing the aftermath. I think that was my first thing. And all of this was based on my dissertation research. Now these young people are 25,
Yeah.
27, and just seeing how this supported them and using a framework that was culturally relevant. Like the parents just kept on sending the kids, didn't question a lot of things because their grades kept on going up. I meet them all the time. I just came back from Haiti. I did go to Haiti recently
Yes.
and then doing a camp in the north and in a group and also a camp in the south that's really run by the community now. I saw one of the students at the airport. It was like, Dr. Desir, so I think that's an amazing thing. That's how the nonprofit started, really grounding young people in identity of their ancestors and their responsibilities. And then it expanded. We started the Haitian Mental Health Think Tank. That was COVID. So when COVID hit, I said, where are the Haitian therapists in South Florida? Like, and 15 folks came and we met. We still, there's a group we're still meeting. We met to talk about, what does the mental wellness look like for
Mm.
our community? Because people, you couldn't go to the hospital. You had a family elder there. People were still going to church. We had several pastors passing away because that was their refuge. We have rituals when people die. We didn't have any burial rituals. We had therapists who were still working. We took time to stop and begin to define our own mental resources. And it was very mixed, many different religious backgrounds, folks from different psychological entry points, psychiatrists, mental health workers, marriage, family counselors. So we all got together and spent several years just creating language
Wonderful.
and supporting each other in terms of like, how do you do this work? And the subgroup of us are still working on that and really integrating Black psychology into Haitian psychology and being trained by Black psychologists like Baba Wade Nobles, who donated almost 2 years of training. So that's very important to do.
Why is it important for Black children or Black Haitian American children to have a Haitian psychologist?
Well, I don't think it's absolutely necessary, but there's nuances. For example, when I was very young, a school psychologist, and I had a parent, I was assessing their kid. Their kid had some psychological issues and cognitive issues, and I was the only one in the district. So I was trying to be very precise, and I was talking to the parent, and the parent came from a Protestant background. And they said, ah, pas inquiétez parce que cerveau c'est en bouteille. Like his spirit, his thinking is in a bottle. And I was like, what does that mean? That's another reason why I had to start studying Vodou, because I was working with these Haitian families and they were telling me terminology I did not understand. And I
Right.
began visiting different churches, Protestant, Adventist, Baptist, and the crux of it was all the same epistemology.
Right.
There's not that many Haitian psychologists, and there's some Haitian psychologists, remember, that's trained in a particular Western way
Yeah.
as well. So, I mean, that was the importance of the Haitian think tank, to bring in not Vodou as a religion, but a system. Like if they come in and they say, so and so died and they're visiting me, how do you sit with that and not say they're hallucinating or
Right.
whatever?
Or they're schizophrenic.
Yes, it gives an opportunity. And I know there are many folks now that are open to have that conversation, but then creating our own terminology, so that's some of the things we want to support. And with my Haitian think tank now, we've been working on a 3-year research study with the concept of home as a psychological space and displacement,
Mm.
coming up with terms like diasporic grief. How do we manage it? And we are coming from completely different religious backgrounds.
Yeah.
And so I think it's important to be aware of the culture
Yeah.
and discerning things that have been used in the context of home. That's important. I remember one time I was working with a child. This was a kindergarten student. He was picking up tables with one hand and flinging them across the classroom. He became very strong in all of this, and the kids were scared. At some point, they called the father. They said, we have to put him in a special psychiatric placement kind of thing. And the father was at the table in this IEP meeting with all of these people there, Haitian translator, myself. And he says, I'm not signing any papers until there's a Vodou priest here.
Mm.
And then so I was just like, hey, I knew folks. So I was like, okay, it's not a problem. I actually know a
Hook
professor,
y'all up.
but like, if you want someone educated, I actually know a professor. And so, and he was getting irate because they were against it. I stepped outside with him and he said, you know what? I said that to see if they really cared about my kid and
Mm.
who he is and who we are. And
Mm.
we heard them laughing
Mm.
in the IEP meeting. And the next day he took his kid and went to Haiti. And for me, I saw the child had a spiritual issue and a psychological issue.
They
The
like
level,
our stories. They like these phenomenologies when they want to put it in a Marvel movie, when they want to exploit it for comic books, series, and all of this and that. However, those are our real stories.
no, and
Those are
and
our real stories, and they cannot even give him the dignity and the respect to at least listen and trust that the father knew exactly what this IEP meeting was missing.
yeah, and my thing was what? If
Yeah.
he wants to have an
Yeah.
advocate of any kind,
Just for those who are outside, what is it?
a voodoo priest,
Right.
because he felt that his son also needed certain kind of spiritual healings. And I
Right.
mean, we can make these complementary. I do believe in psychiatric issues, it
Right.
changes the framework of your body. I support different types of medication and intervention that needs to happen, but this is culturally competence. Why not? Integrate, different ideas so we have a comprehensive understanding.
To the adult because it's a lot more manageable, I feel, when a child is having a spiritual awakening or some downloads or being claimed. And being claimed just means that in the family, you're the one with the spiritual gifts. You're the one the spirits are going to train. And usually that training and initiation is done in several different ways. You might go into meditational trances, find that it happens in your sleep. And more fantastical, some people go underwater for a few months. Some people are in a coma for a few months and come back with a lot of spiritual gifts because they were actually in training in a spiritual realm. Now, for me, I talk about this very plainly because it is our reality and it's not a far stretch in our imagination. But what do you say to the adult who is having a spiritual awakening? Because, as you know, we're all so programmed in a Christian paradigm. And even though they've been getting signs, they've ignored it. And there are some folks that you can't get away from it. They have a real sudden burst of this spiritual awakening, which may manifest as psychosis, and the person who doesn't understand what's happening to them. What do you say to that?
Well, I mean, I feel like we have multitude of experiences happening at the same time.
They're certainly not a monolith either.
Right. I studied psychology before I went deep in studying Vodou, at least the epistemology of it. So I think that was a good thing because there was a lot of experiences that I was having that some would perceive as crazy making. We have to understand the fragility of people's spirit and where are they in their life. That's why I spent 18 years studying myself
Yeah.
in terms of knowing what I like or dislike, what's natural or what feels unnatural.
Yeah.
And I think that everybody putting Vodou or spirituality aside, you come to an awakening, a maturity.
Yeah.
There's certain things that you don't feel comfortable around,
Yeah.
right? It is important to go to elders and ask your family members your history. But this is also an apostle walk. Like you have to be ready, go through it and come out. And it's very much like you go to graduate school, like this will change you, you will struggle. So I don't encourage folks to say, okay, I'm having a spiritual experience right now, and now I gotta be a mumble. You need to see, well, what's going on in my life? Because sometimes we can get confused. You're going through a particular kind of trauma, and the healing of the trauma can make you be higher than what you are now. So we have to consciously understand that we live in a world that is unwell, and we all will have some unwellness in different aspects of our life. If we're using spirituality as an escape to not deal with the everyday, that's an issue.
That is.
And if a family has a choice which route, or a person has which route that they will choose in that practice. But there are just small things. Like, that's why I started my program, because I can look at a child and know I've been trained, and that's my thing. I can see if a child has a psychological issue, an educational issue, or has a spiritual issue or an awakening. So you have to have folks that can speak to that. And it doesn't have to be grounded in Vodou. It could be in a Christian faith. If you have a child that has sight, you have a child that can touch and heal, or if you have an elder who's prophetic. We're using different terms in a religious context, but it's all the same.
Yeah.
They have a entry into a unknown spiritual world, and it's the same thing. And then so now you begin to say, well, who are the people that will support that?
Right.
In my experience, particularly with young people and women, like, there's a series of questions I'm going to ask them. I was trained to do readings and see, this thing is happening to you. As someone trained in psychology, I can also say this is also happening. You have to have trained people that understand, and you have to have faith in yourself. Like, our goal on this earth is to reach our higher self.
Right.
And some of us is very different. And like, we are sacred, like with the Haitians, we have a portal to the unknown. Whether you understand it, practice it, or whatever, it's something that we have in the Americas that no other group has been able to tap into to that extent and be free from those who enslaved them. There is a conscious understanding, but not everybody fought in the Haitian Revolution. Not everybody had that consciousness of understanding, but they want us to believe that we are of God. We are of God. And if you are trained and understand that, there's some incredible things that you can do. And these are what I teach in my program. There are a lot of psychologists and therapists and medical folks who are also in tune, but you can't come with a colonized consciousness.
As you were talking, I was like, it's so important to do the work that you do to first decolonize our minds. You have to decolonize, and even us, it's a constant work.
It's everyday work.
That was great, Charlene. All right, for my audience, how would someone know the difference if they have a child or if they're going through it? You have to pinpoint, am I having an episode? Am I having an anxiety attack? How do they know the difference between a spiritual mounting or revelation or something psychological? How would a parent know?
How about if I say it's both the same? It's both and. I think that in working with Haitian community, specifically, they always go to the other side first. And it doesn't matter their religious background,
Mm.
because
The other side, what do you
they
mean?
have this, when I told my mother I want to be a psychologist, she's like, oh, and I wanted to work with Haitians and be in Haiti. And she's like, oh, so like with them, being crazy or insane is like you running around naked in the street, you don't know what you're doing,
Pushing a
whatever.
buggy.
Yes. So like that is okay, they're crazy, something's wrong, and all of that, but if a child is prophetic, if they're saying things that, I mean, it's not like, okay, my child is special. If they are saying things like yesterday, I was visiting a wonderful elder in the community and her grandchildren were there. The little one is maybe 4
Mhm.
and the other one is 6. I came in and the little one came to me and she was talking like an adult. She was talking like an adult. And then she told me, I remember you. I saw you at the water. And I'm like, huh? And then she was like, I remember you. I saw you at the beach. I saw you at the water. Then the grandmother came out. I was in Labadzi. And then the grandmother came out. And I was just like saying, no, that wasn't the case. The grandmother came out and she was like, oh, you just came from Labadzi. They went last year. And then the little girl looked at me and was like, I told you I saw you. It's something like that. They're doing things and saying things that's unusual.
Yeah.
That is, and under 7, they have memory. My little sister, she had a daughter called her Blessing. Before she was born, she came to me, her grandma, and her godmother and spoke to us. It was very vivid for me. She was telling me things before she was born. And then she said, if you don't believe me, I will be born with an unusual birthmark. So you'll know it's me that's talking to you. When my sister went into labor, I was just,
So that birthmark.
sure enough, a week later, my sister said, my daughter has a rear birthmark and it's going to disappear over time.
Yeah.
So she would tell me, I'm from Cyrus. So that I encourage that under 7 to explore that spirituality with them.
They haven't forgotten.
In my program, I had students who were Christian. I had this one amazing Christian young man who was 12 and he saved a child's life. And the child came up and I said, what happened? And she said, there was this white mermaid under the water that wanted me to go with her. I called the Haitian family. I had to bring her to emergency room. We had to resuscitate. There were 3 lifeguards. Only this one boy saw what was happening.
Yeah.
And so I go to the hospital and I'm calling the family. And the family's like, oh, ou te mette l'eau. Oh, chaque fois la l'eau, gon ba qui toujours a essayer prendre.
Yeah.
She's like, every time she goes underwater, I said, okay, where do you write that on the permission slip? And then I made her draw what was happening.
Yeah.
And we did metal work around it. We use art as a form of expression. I still have a metal work she did with her hand being raised to the sky. It's not like every kid,
I got
but
those bumps.
you have to have eyes of understanding. I've been trained. That's my anointing. I'm able to read that
Yeah.
in people as the Haitian there. I mean, I don't know Haitian Americans now who were born here, 2 generations, but every family that I have ever worked with, they go to that realm first before they go to the Western realm. But then we also have issues within our community that we haven't addressed. Like one of the main one is sexual abuse of children, incest. I had to deal with that, and a lot of times the parents try to cover that up as
Right.
well, and that becomes a psychological issue. And so I don't have a problem of having comprehensive care, like doing both and, because sometimes the spiritual is going to become a psychiatric will become a psychological, a spiritual, because we're not managing it well. But I think what we have to listen and trust, because everyone has someone who knows in the family.
Right.
As our elders are becoming, generations born in the US, the lineage is still there.
Yeah.
So we have to be in awareness of that one that's a little bit odd in
Mm.
the family, a little bit different, and trust what they say, not dismiss it. And I think it has to be both angles.
But here's the sad part about the new first generation Haitian Americans. What we find is we don't know anything about anything. The parents, they've converted, they're maintaining this look of Christianity and Christendom. Haitians also have the psychological problem or illness of, white is right. The closer to whiteness, proximity to whiteness is to reject all things indigenous to them. And that's one of the reasons I believe that they don't teach the children the practices that they grew up with. And it's unfortunate because what happened is the last year, my father and I became very close, but I still feel like we didn't have enough time together. We only became close within the span of 5 years before his passing. And that's when he began divulging a lot of things to me. He even told me that his time is very limited and he's going to pass on soon. And he needed me to, then it seemed like, crash course. I need you to know this and this and this about your family. I need you to know this and this and this about our ancestors and our spirits. Don't let anybody do this. You don't need to go there. And he's giving me this crash course every time we meet. He also reveals to me, I am passing on the torch to you when I pass. And I'm like, really? And you wait till now? Everything I've learned on my own through books, in my dreams, or through my own experiences. And I just feel like it's a disservice to our children. And that's one of the reasons why I really appreciate what you're doing with 10 Global with the kids. I do believe that time between 1 and 7 is really a great time for them to tap in because they have a lot of downloads. Not only are they still pure, unaffected by the world and limitations we set on children, but they do get a lot of downloads. Now, we continue to get downloads as adults, but I just think it diminishes. So, what do you say to the Haitian American? And it could be from any other, because it's not just Haitian Americans who went through this or who had this same experience. You have people throughout Latin America or even South America, right? That their families have adopted a Christian lifestyle, and only in later on are they learning who their ancestral spirits and what they're supposed to do to lead a balanced, wholesome life, to be spiritually grounded in order to solve the problems that our ancestors want us to solve or carry on the work.
I think we have to teach our children who they are. One of the activities we give the children is, how did you get your name? That basic. Like, why did my family call me Charlene, Fabiola Michelle Desir? That's a crazy name. So, that's the first thing. And we have them interview elders
Mm-hmm.
in their families. It starts with understanding who you are in the family that you position yourself in. One of my greatest issues is talking bad about another religion,
Mm,
regardless of what side it is, because it's all the same to me.
right.
And go deep and study, especially in the Asian community, it's the same thing happening in all the different spaces. But why is there's one context talking bad about the other context and their contributions? Because there was no religion at the beginning. There was
Yep.
a conscious understanding of, like, how do we exist in nature, and there's one God. And,
Right.
like, how do we represent that energy in our form, because that energy exists within us. In the Haitian context, we had slavery in Haiti 100 years before South America or the United States proper in North America.
That's
and
right.
they had to learn to survive. And there was three things that was taught. One is that, it will be called Haiti because it's a Taino land,
That's right.
their name, and we will learn a language which should be called Haitian Creole. So we have, and then that was a mixture. That was a mixture of multiple languages. They created a Vodou, a system of surviving in this context. There was this harmony that existed with nature. And what came to happen was all of a sudden it was resistance. So everything about our spirituality became an act of resistance. The resistance got so deep that we devalue the thing that we came with and who we are. Creator made Black people first, and we were closest to the knowledge of what it meant to create. And a Black woman can create any race of the mother, because it goes deeper than like Christianity and indigenous practices. Like the imagination and the creator is Black woman.
Yeah. Well,
And
we know how science has been used as a tool of racism for so many years. And it baffles me
yeah,
how we're not out here being supremacists, but facts are facts. And we
so
can't be afraid to say it.
yes,
Like,
Christianity,
hey,
you know, it it defines and another consciousness of other understanding for certain people to feel superior when they are the ones that are inferior. You were a child of God. You were a creation of the Almighty. Africa became the guardian of the riches that existed, and it was exploited. Even in the context of commercializing indigenous practices was not the intention. So when I was a child going to Haiti, there was a Vodouism, Methodist, a Baptist, a Catholic. We all lived in the same neighborhood. We were all, folks was like, okay, and then we forget and get confused. The healing practices, the teas, the massage, that's all indigenous. So it is for us to not remember our divinity, for us not to remember our connection. When we belittle it by saying, well, this religion is against this religion, it's your spirituality, your humanity, your essence of being of God. Because God is not going to say, you are better than you. You are all my children. So it goes into a deeper consciousness of how we understand what we are. And then it's a control factor. Doing research around coming to Haiti, the first Protestants that came to Haiti were African Americans. They did not tell the people not to be proud of being Black. So yes, you can be a mystic and be Christian. Yes, you can be a mumble and be Christian and you serve God. But how do you, in the name of God, say you're better than somebody else? We are all created equal.
That's right.
And we choose how to walk our walk. And it evolves over time. Look at where Haitian Americans doing Vodou. It's not going to be the same as being in Haiti.
Absolutely not.
It's another consciousness. Our consciousness is liberation and freedom.
You are preaching.
I'm sorry. Yeah,
No, no, no. I love it. I love it. Because people need to hear it. And you got me all riled up back here.
yeah, I
But,
mean, we're all the
do
same.
you think the term Vodou diminishes its divinity?
Well, the thing is, like, seriously, in 1915, the Americans came and like
Oh,
took our gold reserves and did a lot of different things. And they had to do a disruption,
yeah,
because Haiti has resources. It still has resources.
yeah.
And they can't understand how these people, do these extraordinary things. And we can't. So you got to vilify it. So this is a Hollywood movies started. They started dismantling.
Look at the Citadelle La Ferrière.
Yeah, I mean, how did they do that? Like I just came from, and everything was, they chose, they kidnapped certain Africans with different gifts.
Yeah.
I just came behind the Citadel is Fort Saint Jacques. It's
Yeah.
a whole area for the warrior energies. They built the Citadel right in front of it. I walked up this mountain to be in this. You feel the energy. They can't feel that. Can't understand how we won the revolution, period. So again, these people are like Wakanda, like what's going on?
Yeah.
So they're going to demystify that.
We need to stop demystifying it for them.
So Vodou means spirit. It just means spirit. It's another way of understanding. Like I speak Chinese, you speak Italian. It's another expression of how we understand the world. That's when it began to be vilified
Yeah.
through cinema, through all of these things, because people were like, okay, whatever, these people have special gifts. We respect. They're
Well,
able
part of
to
our
heal.
epistemology, Charlene, and this is one of the things I aim to defend in a few months, right? Part
Mm.
of our epistemology is that we're spirit first.
We're spirit first. And like the Black psychology says, we have spirit damage. We're
Yes.
not mentally ill. Our
Oh,
very spirit, and they teach, and that's something also I do in
yeah.
my practice, they teach how to reconnect
Yeah.
back to your spirit. And this is Black psychology. And Vodou does the same thing. For certain people that get mounted and feel that energy, and it's not everybody,
Yeah.
right? So
Everybody cannot get mounted. And some people talk crap about people who get mounted, but they don't even understand how great a gift that is.
that is an anointing because it's a freedom. I'm having an exhibit this week at my university, and two Christians were the first to come and see it in Juneteenth.
Yeah.
They walked with me, and this one Christian woman, she said, you know, my husband is very religious, pastor, politician. We went to Africa. They were playing music, drums. The women came out to dance, and he was overtaken. And
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen him like that. And she said, that's what freedom looks like. And this is the energy I'm getting from this art around me. So,
Yeah.
like, the thing is, okay, why would not, they don't want us to have
You
superpower.
want to be free?
They
You
don't
don't.
want us to be free. So you have like my whole thing is like, why are you vilifying it? And then the term, and I have walked in so many faiths. Every faith has a voodoo, has a spirituality within it.
Everything.
Christianity,
You study
Muslim,
Kabbalah.
everybody has a
Everything.
spirituality, but
Everything.
as Black people with that kind of power, it would be unconscionable.
Dangerous.
We would have revolutions all the time.
It's dangerous.
But we are the elders. So we would not do certain things to our children that our children will do to us.
Exactly. And what they're afraid of, that's because they know if they had the power that we had, we wouldn't have only gone through 400 years of slavery.
Yes. But at the same time, I think as a people, we didn't create structures of safety,
Mm.
you know?
Communal people, we're loving people.
And we have created systems amongst ourselves to not create pathways to be free. Historically, if you look at Haiti, Dessalines was killed. And we never talked about the justice. We all wanted freedom, but we didn't think about how do we create a system of equity, right? And so we still have that challenge to this day around the world. What does that mean? Can we consciously live in a particular kind of way? So it becomes an individual choice. For me, one of Dr. Boaz wrote Vodou as the slur word. Because how can they give credence to someone that destroyed the very people that enslaved them? I mean, how can you give that light?
How could you write about it in a powerful, respectful way? You
You
have
have
to
to
diminish it.
disparage it. Why do they beat up the prettiest girl in school? There's this weird internalized inferiority
Complex.
that we have.
I have it, but our people have it.
For me, it's the opposite. When I say Vodou, it's energy. It's an energy that my ancestors, someone in my ancestral line was on a slave ship. Someone in my ancestral line survived up until this generation.
Right.
And so, like, what can I not do? Of course, I'm going to go to Harvard. Absolutely. My grandmother's a genius. She's the most amazing mind that I ever know. Imagine that level of confidence. It's in my blood. That's a moment.
Goosebumps, child.
That's in my blood. How can I not? I love all children because they came from my ancestor.
That's right.
And
That's why we,
hold a
that's
white child. I will hold an Asian child, Italian child. But first, I'm going to go to the one that is of me because they have the least.
That's right. And they need me. And as a parent, as a mother, we have to be equitable.
This is my whole academic career focused on healing and expanding pedagogy. expanding how we understand. It's not about race or religion. It's about how do we diversify how people can learn. I use these systems with children of different races and it works. We all have indigenous practices.
All our children. Oh my God, you are speaking my language. I love it. And I could talk to you all day. Let me take a deep breath. That was a lot. That was great. Charlene, let me tell you what I'm hearing. I know you have a lot going on, and I'm not trying to put more on your plate. I definitely think we need to, and we have some other colleagues who are doing similar. So we definitely need to have another conversation.
Oh, yes,
That conversation is surrounding a healing workshop, healing that spirit. You've done it before and in several different types of iteration. This
interesting.
is on the Black woman in the job space. That's where I'm bringing leadership and change. And we have to talk about that.
Well, I mean, I think you are a fabulous facilitator and I'll support. I mean, I have a conference coming up in August looking at Pan-African traditions, and part of it is going to be having a collective healing space. For me, that's what it is now. Like, I am not fighting anybody else's mental health issues, other people's insecurities. I think what you're saying is fabulous because we have to go internal. Like we can't wait for anybody to do anything for us. There are many people doing this outside. I have brothers that's doing healing circles. I have sisters who are using dance and movement. There are folks teaching comedic meditation. For me, the conference is around wellness because when we're unwell, we do unwell things. And it's nobody's responsibility but our own. They want us to wear a certain pair of glasses. We do not have to have any glasses on. So I do think that when you get these degrees, there is a responsibility to community. There's beautiful work that's happening in the Christian church. I thought the Adventist was the strictest. I had a sister who was part of my psychology think tank that was Adventist and invited me to come and speak to the young people in her church.
Seventh-day Adventist, and I've learned so much from the Seventh-day Adventist Church.
Absolutely. And they don't understand. If you stop visiting them, they all, Vodou ceremony is very similar. It's just
Yeah.
another way of expression. So I think we have to go back to God. What you said is important because it is happening and we need to do more of it because we exist in this world
Mhm.
right now. And those of us who have consciousness, folks come to me like I left the therapy work and I had to come back because like there was people coming to me and I never advertised, which is also interesting. They find me because there's a specific type of healing that they want. I'm not going to have you sit and tell me about your problems. I'm going to have you do magic, manipulate the lies you were told into strengths and show you how to do it. There's a lot of us doing different ways
Yeah.
of healing. We have had such massive trauma and generations after generations.
Yeah.
One example, in the Vodou tradition, a lens we use, there's the weeping Flida, right? So Flida is the very feminine energy. Because there's psychological archetypes too.
Yeah.
So the girl that always show up pretty, prim, perfect, right? And then there's another layer when she's by herself. So that face is hiding.
Yes.
Then you go into different ceremonies. You have the mother that's that she's crying. Then the daughter begins tearing and crying. Then the granddaughter tearing and crying. So there's this pain of that pretty girl in this family, like having to hold and mask. We wear the mask.
Yeah.
And so it's psychological.
Yeah.
Yes, we identify that's the weeping Flida. She's crying because she's hasn't been filled, right? And she's used,
Yeah.
she feels unclaimed, but
Yeah.
she's pretty, she
Yeah.
smells
She's been afflicted
inside.
over and over again. All she can do is cry about it.
See someone coming like that, I'm gonna go deeper. Like
Yeah.
what is going on psychologically? So these are also archetypes too. When the energy shows up, I'm angry. What are you fighting? Because these energies are not outside of us, they're inside of us.
All of them. Yep. Yep. Amazing. There's no way for us to go through all these energies. You gave some great examples, and I know people will be curious to know more about these different archetypes. This conversation,
Our ancestors were geniuses.
we can do a whole show on just archetypes. That in itself is a whole show, and we won't even get to all of them. But we can do a show on the most popular archetypes, or the ones that we're seeing most often, because there are hundreds of them. But I also want to give you the space to say thank you so much for being here. And I want you to go ahead and let us know, let the people know what you have going on. I know you have the conference that you have going on, and there's so many other things. And just give them spaces. I wrote a whole article. It was a love letter for you and this other organization. I just want people to donate and really bring awareness to what it is you're doing. I don't know if you got an opportunity to see it. I did not post it yet. Charlene needs to see this before I do this. Tell people where they can go to donate to 10 Global and support you, or become a part, or contribute in any way possible, and what other activities you got going on.
Yes, so it's 10 Global, TENGLOBAL.org. There's a couple of projects we do. The one project that I mentioned is we do summer programming using a spiritual Vodou lens, anti-racist lens, and it's really like decolonizing the imagination with these young people. So far, we have been doing camps primarily in Haiti. Haiti is a very young country, and it's a literacy component. So there's one program that we do in the south of Haiti and one in the north of Haiti. One of them is happening right now as we speak. One of them just finished. So that's the majority of our funding goes to that. We have the Haitian Mental Health Think Tank, where we're creating psychological, spiritual curriculum, understandings, and writings to have a different framework with this lens. Those are two of our major projects that we do. Right now, I am the vice president of KOSANBA, which is academic organization for the study of Vodou and Pan-African systems. We have a conference coming up that I am hosting in South Florida at Nova Southeastern University. That is happening August 21 to 23. And you can go on kosamba.org, KOSANBA.org, to learn more about it. This year, we have practitioners and academics presenting their work as a community. And it's around, for me, entering into wellness space and looking at ourselves. There's also going to be an exhibit curated by Dr. Kira Daniels and Vanessa Charlot, and that we have a reception happening on July 17th. And that exhibit is also going to be up until August. So if you are in South Florida and curious, go to KOSANBA. And if you want to learn some things about this, there are actually academics who study these things. There's also practitioners who teach and have healing spaces. We're going to have 3 workshops this year while we're there. We will have a component for children on August 23rd from 2 to 3. We will have a children's program so parents can come, and it's going to be an artistic expression as well. So that's what's happening immediately. I'm very glad because my university supports the work that I do. It's not about anti, it's about pro. How do we ourselves have space to be reflective and heal and center our own wellness?
Mhm. Beautiful, beautiful. That is wonderful. And you see, everything you talk about is always very collective. And I wanted you to take that time to just celebrate Charlene and talk about what Dr. Charlene Desir got going for, individually.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you, future doctor, and I'm glad you are a colleague and we will continue the work that we do together.
Yes. I appreciate you. I love celebrating you. I love celebrating people who are real and doing the work, who show up authentically. What can anybody else want from you? You show up authentically, and I appreciate that. Please continue being the gift that you are to the world, to us. You're such a nurturing, wonderful sister. It's a root system that we have, and they're all connected and branched back to you. And I see things visually, and you are a strong trunk in that root system. I love it because that ecosystem cannot be broken. I'm really grateful to be a part of that. It's an abundant feeling to be connected to the ancestors and to you and the other sisters. We have some amazing sisters. I'm just in a space of gratitude. Thank you, Dr. Charlene. Have a
Thank you.
beautiful day. We've come to the end of the Empress Addie podcast featuring our illustrious, esteemed guest, our spiritually powerful guest, Dr. Charlene Desir. Mumble, Dr. Charlene Desir. Thank you, sister.
Thank you.